everyone, welcome back. We're going deep today into the world of marketing, but not the kind you see in those flashy ads.
Right.
This is about the psychology behind what makes us buy things, even when we think we're totally in control.
Yeah, you think you are.
And to guide us on this deep dive, we're using Marketing to Mindstates by Will Leach.
Great book.
It is a really, really good one.
Yeah.
So get ready because we're going to uncover how marketers are using, well, psychology and behavioral science to kind of nudge us towards their products.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of our decision-making happens without us even realizing it.
Okay.
Like we're on autopilot, driven by these emotions and mental shortcuts we don't even know we're using.
Yeah, it's kind of freaky when you think about it.
It is.
And the funny thing is, Will Leach, he actually discovered this whole mind state thing while he was trying to choose a daycare for his newborn son.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Like, even as a marketing expert, he loves making lists, pros and cons, but he realized in that moment, like, as a panicked new dad, his emotions just completely took over.
Yeah, and it's a perfect example of how these mind states, those temporary emotional states, can totally override rational thinking.
Yeah.
And marketers, they know this.
Oh, they know.
They know how to use these common mind states, like when you're hungry or excited, or even feeling a little guilty, like to nudge you towards their products. Think about it. Have you ever tossed a candy bar in your cart at the checkout line just because you were feeling stressed?
Oh, totally guilty of that. But why does this happen? Is it just that we're weak-willed or something?
No, not at all.
Oh.
It's about how our brains work. We have two systems of thinking. System one, fast, intuitive, and emotional. It's like that impulsive child who wants everything right now.
Yeah.
And then there's system two, which is slower, more deliberate and logical.
Yeah.
It's like a tired parent trying to keep up and make sensible choices.
Oh, I see.
But system one, that impulsive child, often wins out.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So even when we think we're making rational choices, our emotions or mind states, they might actually be calling the shots.
Exactly. And that's why understanding these systems is so crucial. It helps us become more aware of the influences that are shaping our decisions.
Okay, so how do we use this knowledge to avoid those impulse buys?
Well, one of the first steps is understanding how marketers use these mind states to their advantage. Will Leach uses the example of sun chips. Remember those?
Yeah.
They introduced those compostable bags,
Oh, yeah.
which seemed like a great idea.
Yeah, for the environment.
Right, but they made this incredibly loud, crinkling sound.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I thought the idea was great, but that crinkling was so annoying.
Right, and that's the point.
Yeah.
People said they wanted eco-friendly packaging, but their actual behavior showed something different.
Yeah.
That awful sound created such a negative emotional response that it completely tanked the product.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it's not enough for companies to just tell us what we should want. They have to consider how their products and marketing make us feel.
Precisely. They need to understand the emotional impact of their message, not just rely on what people say they want. Now, beyond just understanding mind states, marketers also use something called regulatory fit. It's about framing a message to match how people approach their goals.
Okay, that sounds a little complicated.
Yeah.
Can you break that down for us?
Imagine a target. Some people, those with a promotion focus, are aiming for the bullseye. They're all about seeking rewards and achieving gains. Others with a prevention focus are more concerned with building a wall around that target, protecting themselves from risks and losses.
Oh, okay, so two different approaches.
Yeah.
So how does this apply to marketing?
Well, let's say you're selling healthy snacks. If you're targeting someone with a promotion focus, you might emphasize the energy boost and delicious flavors, focusing on what they'll gain.
Yeah.
But for someone with a prevention focus, you might highlight the low calories and heart-healthy ingredients, focusing on what they'll avoid. It's the same product, but the message is tailored to their specific motivation.
So it's like speaking different languages depending on who you're talking to.
Exactly. And you can see this in real-world marketing all the time. Think about Nike. Their ads often show athletes achieving incredible feats, pushing boundaries, and reaching their full potential. That's very much a promotion focus, emphasizing what you can gain.
Yeah, and then there's Under Armour with their emphasis on discipline, resilience, and pushing through challenges. They're speaking to those who are motivated by avoiding failure, a more prevention-focused approach.
You got it. And by understanding their target audience's regulatory fit, companies can create messages that really resonate and feel personally motivating.
Now, before we move on, I want to talk about these mental shortcuts or heuristics that you mentioned earlier.
Oh, those are fascinating. They're like little tricks our brains use to make quick decisions, often without us even realizing it.
Yeah, so can you give us some examples of how marketers use these heuristics?
Absolutely. Let's start with a fun one. Have you ever noticed that in ads, watches almost always display the time as 10:09?
Now that you mention it, I think I have. It's like a universal watch time. But why?
Well, there are different theories. Some say it's because the watch hands at 10:09 create a sort of smiley face, making the watch more appealing.
Oh.
Others believe it frames the brand name nicely.
Huh. Interesting. So it's a subtle visual cue that taps into our preferences without us even consciously noticing.
Exactly. And there are tons of other heuristics marketers use. You've probably seen limited time offer messages everywhere. That's scarcity making you feel like you have to act now or miss out.
Oh, yeah. That always gets me. And what about those websites that say thousands of satisfied customers?
That's social proof. Our brains are wired to follow the crowd. So seeing that many people endorse a product makes us more likely to trust it.
It's starting to feel like these shortcuts are influencing my choices everywhere. It's almost a bit unnerving.
It can be, but awareness is the first step to becoming a more conscious consumer. Now, one of the best examples of how all these principles come together is the story of Wicked Crisps, which Will Leach features in his book.
Tell me more about that.
Wicked Crisps is a brand that was built entirely around behavioral design principles. They did their research and identified their target audience's mind states and motivations. Then they crafted their name logo and packaging to appeal to those non-conscious desires, all without relying on traditional advertising.
So, how did they do that? What did they discover about their target audience?
Well, they found that their ideal customers craved a sense of adventure and indulgence. So they incorporated those feelings into their brand by using bold, vibrant colors on their packaging that evoked exotic travel and exciting flavors. Even the name Wicked Crisps suggests a sense of indulgence in breaking the rules.
That's a great example of how understanding your audience's deeper desires can lead to success.
And it worked. Wicked Crisps achieved rapid growth by tapping into those hidden desires. It's proof that behavioral design can be a powerful tool for businesses of all sizes.
So, we're not just talking about big corporations manipulating us, but also smaller companies using these insights to connect with their customers on a deeper level.
Exactly. And that's just the beginning of our deep dive into marketing to mind states.
All right, so we've established that these mind states, they can have a huge impact on our buying decisions. But how many of these mind states are there? I'm starting to feel like there's a whole hidden world operating beneath the surface of our everyday choices.
Well, Will Leach, he outlines 18 distinct mind states that marketers focus on.
18. Wow, that's a lot to keep track of. How can we even begin to understand all of them?
Don't worry, it's not as overwhelming as it sounds. These mind states are actually based on 9 core motivations that drive human behavior. Achievement, autonomy, belonging, competence, empowerment, engagement, esteem, nurturance, and security.
Right. Okay, yeah, I remember you mentioning those earlier.
Yeah.
So how do those motivations translate into 18 different mind states?
Each of these motivations can be paired with either a promotion or a prevention focus, leading to those 18 unique mind states. Remember our target analogy. Those with a promotion focus, they're aiming for the bullseye seeking rewards. Those with a prevention focus are building a wall around the target, avoiding risks.
Right, I'm starting to see how this all fits together. So can you give me an example of how one of these core motivations might manifest as a mind state?
Absolutely. Let's take the motivation of achievement as an example. Someone motivated by achievement with a promotion focus would be in the optimistic achievement mind state.
Okay, so someone who's all about reaching their goals and going for the gold.
Precisely. They thrive on challenge, are drawn to messages that emphasize success, and are willing to take risks to get ahead. Think about those ads that show someone crossing the finish line of a marathon, fist pumping in the air. That's pure optimistic achievement.
Yeah, that imagery definitely evokes a feeling of victory and accomplishment. I can see how that would be motivating. Now, what about someone who's driven by security? What would their mind state look like?
If they have a prevention focus, they'd fall into the cautious security mind state. These individuals are all about minimizing risk and protecting themselves from harm. Stability, predictability, and peace of mind are their top priorities.
So they're not necessarily looking to achieve great things, but rather to maintain a sense of safety and well-being.
Exactly. You'll often see this mind state targeted in advertising for home security systems or insurance products. Think about those commercials that play on our fears of burglaries or accidents. They're appealing to that deep-seated need for security.
Wow, I never thought about it that way, but it makes so much sense. It's almost like they're speaking a different language using imagery and words that resonate with those specific fears and desires.
That's the power of understanding mind states. It allows you to connect with your audience on a deeper level, tapping into their core motivations to craft truly compelling messages. And Will Leach, he goes into great detail about each of these 18 mind states in his book.
He does. Tell me more. I'm starting to see how this knowledge could be really valuable, not just for marketers, but for anyone who wants to understand how people make decisions.
He provides detailed profiles for each mind state, outlining the typical thoughts, feelings, and behaviors associated with each one. He even goes a step further and provides behavioral activation briefs for each mind state.
Behavioral activation briefs. What are those?
They're essentially practical guides to crafting effective marketing messages for each specific mind state. They offer concrete tactics and strategies from visual design to word choice, all tailored to resonate with the target audience's underlying motivations.
So it's not just about understanding these mind states in a theoretical sense, it's about being able to actually apply this knowledge to influence behavior.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting because it raises some important questions about the ethics of using these techniques.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does feel a bit like we're uncovering these hidden levers that can be used to control people's choices. Is there a way to ensure that this knowledge is used ethically and responsibly?
That's a crucial question, and one that Will Leach addresses in his book. He argues that it's not inherently manipulative to use these techniques as long as you're doing so to help people achieve their genuine goals and aspirations. For example, if you're using your understanding of mind states to create products that genuinely improve people's lives or to promote messages that encourage healthy behaviors, then you're using this knowledge for good.
Okay, that makes sense. It's all about intention and being transparent with your audience. You're not trying to trick them into doing something they don't want, but rather helping them achieve something they truly desire.
Precisely. It's about creating a win-win situation for both the marketer and the consumer.
So where can our listeners go to learn more about these 18 mind states and these behavioral activation briefs you mentioned? It sounds like there's a lot to explore.
Will Leach, he actually provides a ton of bonus content on his website, marketingtomindstates.com. You can find detailed profiles for each mind state, along with those practical guides to crafting effective messaging.
Fantastic. We'll definitely include a link in our show notes so our listeners can check it out. Now, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive, let's take a moment to recap what we've learned so far. We've explored the idea that our purchasing decisions are often driven by these hidden emotional states called mind states. We've also touched on the importance of understanding the difference between promotion and prevention focus and how those motivations can shape our responses to marketing messages.
And let's not forget about those mental shortcuts, those heuristics that we often use without even realizing it. They're constantly at play, influencing our choices in subtle but powerful ways.
It's amazing how much we've uncovered already. And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to put all this knowledge into action, analyzing real-world marketing campaigns that successfully leverage these principles. It's going to be fascinating to see how these concepts play out in the real world. All right, so let's put all this knowledge about mind states and behavioral design into practice. I'm really curious to see how these concepts play out in real-world marketing.
Well, let's take a look at a classic campaign, Got Milk. Those iconic milk mustache ads. They're a perfect example of how marketers can tap into our non-conscious desires.
Oh, yeah, those were everywhere. Celebrities, athletes, everyone sporting a milk mustache. It seemed like a fun, lighthearted campaign, but I bet there's more to it than meets the eye.
Absolutely. On the surface, it's playful and engaging, but beneath that, it cleverly utilizes multiple mind states to create a powerful message.
Okay, I'm all ears. Which mind states are we talking about here?
First, there's a strong element of optimistic belonging. Seeing all these famous, admired figures with milk mustaches creates a sense of inclusion, almost like they're part of an exclusive club. It subconsciously suggests that if you want to be like them, you should drink milk too.
I see. It's like they're saying, hey, all the cool kids are doing it. No one wants to feel left out.
Exactly. And there's also a subtle optimistic nurturance at play. Milk has long been associated with comfort care and those warm, fuzzy feelings of childhood. Those milk mustaches might trigger a subconscious association with those positive memories, making you crave a glass of milk.
Yeah, it's like a visual reminder of mom pouring you a glass of milk and cookies after school. It definitely brings back those cozy feelings.
Now, let's not forget about heuristics. The Got Milk campaign brilliantly utilizes the principle of scarcity, but in a more subtle way. Instead of explicitly saying limited time offer, it highlights the negative consequences of not having milk.
You mean those ads that showed people struggling with dry, crumbly cookies or having a spicy meal without anything to cool the burn?
Exactly. Those images trigger a fear of missing out, No one wants to be caught in those uncomfortable situations. It subtly nudges us to stock up on milk to avoid those negative experiences.
It's amazing how they created that sense of urgency without resorting to those in-your-face tactics.
The Got Milk campaign is a great example of how understanding mind states and heuristics can lead to truly effective marketing. It's not about manipulation, but about connecting with people on a deeper emotional level.
Right. It's about understanding what makes people tick, what they crave, and what they want to avoid.
Now, another campaign that effectively leverages these principles
Yeah.
is the classic Absolute Vodka series. Remember those minimalist ads featuring the distinctive bottle shape incorporated into different scenes and
Oh,
scenarios?
yes, I remember those. They are so visually striking and memorable. I always thought it was just about creating a strong brand image, but I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
You're right. Those ads weren't just about aesthetics. They were carefully crafted to appeal to a specific mind state, optimistic autonomy.
Okay, refresh my memory. What does that mind state entail?
Individuals in this mind state are all about expressing their individuality, breaking free from constraints, and charting their own course. They want to feel unique and in control of their choices.
So how did the absolute ads speak to that desire?
By showcasing the bottle in diverse, often unexpected contexts, they create a sense of limitless possibilities.
Yeah.
It was like they were saying absolute is for everyone, no matter your style or personality. It's a blank canvas for your own self-expression.
I get it. It's not about dictating a specific lifestyle or image, but rather empowering the consumer to create their own unique, absolute experience.
And that message really resonated with a target audience that valued individuality and the freedom to be themselves.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how even a simple, minimalist design can convey such a powerful message when it's aligned with the right mind state.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to start looking at the world through this new lens. Pay attention to the advertising around you. What emotions do they evoke? What desires are they tapping into? What heuristics are they using?
It's like you've given us a secret decoder ring to understand the hidden language of marketing.
Exactly. And the more you understand these principles, the more conscious you become as a consumer, making choices that truly align with your own values and needs. And who knows, you might even find yourself inspired to apply these insights in your own life, whether it's in your personal interactions or your own creative endeavors.
That's a great takeaway. It's all about becoming more aware of the forces at play, both within ourselves and in the world around us. And that's what the deep dive is all about. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of marketing to mind states. We'll see you next time.